Hi everyone, welcome back to the Kalima Star channel. This is Kalima, and in this video I am answering the question of whether or not a person can still have a mother wound even if they had a really loving mother or maternal figure. And my answer is yes. I've alluded to it before in my other videos, but the mother wound is individual. And it's also collective. And as I've said before, we're about 6,000 years deep into patriarchy, meaning that men have been in control of governments globally, religions globally, war and foreign invasion globally. The people in the world for the last couple thousand years that have controlled access to food, access to water, access to reproductive rights, access to labor, and the economic market, employment. These things have all been controlled by men. They have been patrolling the seas. They're in the militaries, the armies, the navies, the cavalries. These men did not just, first of all, men did not give birth to themselves. So they couldn't have been the first creature on the planet. So it means that men had to take power. It wasn't given. They didn't just float out of the sky and just originate from the planet like a flower or a weed or something. They were born and they took power and they took control by suppressing women, by suppressing women's personal power, our autonomy. They told us that they were the gods, that they were God's image, that they were smarter. And then they took, made it illegal for girls to learn how to read or go to universities or study. They said that they were stronger, but then they completely took women out of employment. So women weren't the ones who were the majority of the ones who were doing hard labor or who were serving in the military. And it was by choice, not necessarily because the woman didn't want to, and no woman ever, but because men decided that they couldn't. They kept things for themselves so they could force women to be codependent. So they could force women to keep them around. Because if women were completely self-sufficient, then every man wouldn't be chosen. That's obvious. Like people say all the time, including men, the red pill men, they love to say like, choose better. You should have chosen a better man. Yeah, so think about that 6,000 years ago. Men were not getting chosen. They were absolutely correct. A man who was weak, a man who was angry, a man who was immature, who was violent, who was aggressive, who was abusive, who hit women, who preyed on children, who cheated old people. That type of man would not have been chosen to be any type of husband or any type of partner in a small tribe, in a small society where everyone knew each other. They would have considered that type of man to be a threat and to be a danger. And so what patriarchy did was give every man the ability to control his own household. They made all of them kings in their own little world. They said, that Oprah Winfrey meme, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, everyone gets a car. Okay, like that, but with a family. Literally with the lives of women and children. You get a wife, you get a wife, you get some kids, everyone gets a wife and kids. Doesn't matter whether a man has shown that he even wants one. Even men who didn't even want a wife and kids were expected to get one. Because patriarchy doesn't care about any of our feelings. It doesn't care about if you're gay or if you're in love with someone else or if you just want to be a witch who lives in the woods, or if you want to be a man, a bachelor, and you just, you want to keep to yourself, you want to work on your cars or whatever that. They don't care. You are tasked with the duty of creating more taxpayers and creating more soldiers. That's your duty. Paying taxes, creating more taxpayers and more soldiers. And I know you're like, girl, what does it have to do with the mother wound? Well, my point is that compound everything I just said times 6,000 years, and here we are. It's not even possible to have a woman who has not grown up under all the structures I just said. There's been 6,000 years of the world's best PR campaign. I mean, this is the best Super Bowl, 6,000-year-old Super Bowl advertisement you'll ever see. This is a scam, a conspiracy. It has been the best takeover of power in recorded history of how men have swapped with women in every facet of society. So saying that I had a really loving and wonderful mother is excellent. God knows we need more. I wish that was the experience for every child. That is my dream. My ideal world is a world where every child feels that way about their parents or their entire family system. That is my dream. But that does not make it a reality. The truth is that is not most people's reality. It wasn't mine. And if you're watching this, it likely wasn't yours, or it wasn't your parents. It wasn't your neighbors, your best friends, etc. It's quite rare. And part of this is because women have been programmed, we've been indoctrinated, we've been brainwashed, we've been controlled through everything from fairy tales of a prince is coming to save you, so you don't have to be responsible for saving yourself. Your savior is a man. Your savior is this religious figure. Your heaven is in the next life. So all the rich people, all the greedy people, are the narcissists, the sociopaths. They get to have their heaven on earth today. And you have to let them have it. So let them use you, let them abuse you, let them exploit you. And then when you die, probably from stress, when you die, you get to have your heaven in the afterlife. Of course, we can't prove that. So just take our word for it. Of course, your mother has been influenced by those things, just like you've been influenced by those things. It's in our TV, it's in our media, it's in our religions. Even if you didn't grow up religious, you're probably living in a part of a world influenced by a cultural religious belief or a cultural philosophical belief where God is a male, where the head of the family is a man. It's either your father or your uncle, your brother, heck, your son. As long as it's any system or any society you grew up in where a man is responsible for you, where you have to seek resources through a man. You apply for a job, but it's through a man. The man is the person who owns, is the CEO of the corporation. You want to get into the military, a man is controlling the military. He's the commander in chief of the military. You want to get into politics, okay, but your prime minister is a man. Your governors, your president, your leaders, your dictators or tyrants are men. You want to buy water, use electricity. The people that are on the boards of those, if you're in the U.S., it's likely a cooperative, but there are parts of the world where it's privatized, parts of the world where it's owned by the federal government. But no matter how it's structured, we're the people who literally turn your lights on and your water on, who decide whether or not you have clean drinking water, whether or not the rusty pipes get replaced. Those people are male predominantly. I don't mean each and every single one of them. I meant the people who are in leadership, who are decision makers, who are key stakeholders. Those people are predominantly overwhelmingly male. And the women who are in those spaces as well are predominantly under the exact same influences. They believe the same thing as the men. They're men, but in a skirt. Like, I don't see how you could be untouched by the collective mother wound. And then think about the type of mothers that patriarchy has required. Like in that Oprah Winfrey meme of you get a wife, you get a wife, you get a wife. I mean, women are all over TikTok talking about how men who are immature, who are abusive, who are just degenerate or just ungrateful altogether, they use their wives as therapists and sex workers. They're being parented. They're getting a wife to be their mother that they sleep with, which is very creepy. But yeah, they are not seeking a wife who will be a great mother to their children. Like, sure, that's great. But more importantly, will she be a great mother to him? Will she make sure that he's not accountable for any of his behavior? Will his wife make sure that he never has to clean up behind himself, that he doesn't have to apologize, that he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself, he doesn't have to go to a therapist, he doesn't have to make doctor's appointments, he doesn't have to send holiday cards to make sure that he has friends, he doesn't have to check in on people, he doesn't have to have difficult conversations, he doesn't have to ask questions, he doesn't have to get to know his kids, he doesn't have, you see my point. You see my point. It is baked into every fabric of society. This is like having a skunk in your central air vent. Even if you cleaned your house and it was spotless, even if you went up into the air vent and you got the skunk out, the dead skunk, you got it out, the smell that is still in that house is permeated to every single room. That is what patriarchy is like. Even in a household with a mother who has deconstructed patriarchy and is fully aware of it, she's still human, she's still fallible, and she's still susceptible to doing and responding in the same way that any other woman would who has been indoctrinated for 6,000 years. Like, the same way you're not perfect is the same way she also wasn't perfect. Not to make excuses, I'm just answering the question. Like, I just can't in good conscience tell someone that it's not possible to have a mother wound simply because your mom was a good mom. So that's my answer. But I would love to hear y'all's, and like, what do you think? What's been your experience with the mother wound? And yeah, do you think that you have a mother wound? And corollary, do you think that your mother was a loving mother? And it could be a spectrum. I think my mom loves me and ... simultaneously failed to protect me at the same time. So I don't think it's one or the other. And I'm just curious to know, like, what do y'all think? What's been your experience? I'll see you in the comments.